Okay, hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Golden Gloves Chat Show. With me this week has become a famous young man, Damien Durandt. Damien, welcome. We're allowed to shake hands
Brian.
now.
Yeah.
Fantastic, Damien. Well done on all your amazing achievements as a young professional manager and trainer. Firstly, you've got the Cruiserweight Champion of the World, Junior Makabu, in the WBC, which is an amazing achievement.
Thank you.
And I want to talk to you about your dad today. Obviously, he would have been very proud of you. Nick Durandt, famous boxing man in South Africa, really became one of our top managers and trainers of all time. I mean, how do you beat that record? I'm going to talk to you about his record in the next few minutes. Sadly, your dad passed away on the 21st of April 2017.
Yes.
At the age of 53 years old. Just talk to us briefly about that. I know it's a tough question. Where were you at the time, and how you felt about it?
It was difficult. A year before that, in May 2016, my father retired from boxing.
Yes.
He decided to call it a day. He felt he had done everything he could do in boxing. And I just think he had felt there wasn't more he could offer the sport. He had accomplished everything he wanted to accomplish, and he wanted to go on to, boxing, you spend your whole life, you do everything for your fighters or everything for your gym. You need to spend time with your family. And unfortunately, a year later, my dad passed. I took over from him just after he had retired in May 2016, and I continued running the gym. I was training clients and taking on pros, and obviously I was trying to find my feet with promoters and try and get my guys active. And then, a year later, my dad passed. It was very hectic. I was there when he passed away. We were going away for the weekend to Clarence. He had a bike accident. And it was crazy. The next weekend I had junior fighting. On the Friday, I had another fight on the Sunday. So mentally, it was a very difficult space to get through, but we had to. I know he would have wanted me to make sure that I was at the gym, training my guys, making sure they get wins behind them. And we're here now, and I know he's happy with everything's gone.
He's watching you for sure. Yeah, he'd be very proud of you for sure. I mean, because he did a great job, and you're doing a great job. Well, let's just talk about some of his career. I mean, we could talk about your dad for hours, because what he achieved is just mind-boggling. So like you said, he was semi-retired. There was talk of him maybe even coming back. Is that true?
Sort of. He was contemplating whether or not to promote or come back and just manage fighters, not get involved in training fighters. But I think once he had settled down and just got back on his feet, because he was running the tattoo shop at that time, that was his focus. My focus was the gym. I think he had just come to terms with, I've done what I needed to do in boxing. Maybe another year later he would have considered coming back into boxing. He still would spend time watching fights with me, giving me ideas for my fighters. So he still loved the sport. And you know it, Brian. Once it's in the blood, it's in the blood.
I personally, I think he would have come back, but and you would have worked together. But sadly, that's not going to happen. His record, just correct me if I'm wrong, but 97 South African champions, 27 international champions, you got to listen to this, 38 world champions, WBC, WBA, IBF, IBO, WBO champions, phenomenal fighters, 163 champions.
Yeah.
I mean, that's unheard of. I mean, there's no South African trainer and manager ever done that.
Yeah, he made a champion in every organization. He made a SA champion in every single weight division. At one time, he had 11 of the South African champions out of the 17 weight divisions. At one night we did, I don't know if you recall, 2007, there was 14 active champions in the ring. The following year, he had 19 champions in the ring, showcasing that they were existing champions at one time. So my father accomplished a lot for South African boxing as well as African boxing, and for me, I don't think it's possible to accomplish what he accomplished. I think in his time, what he did with Golden Gloves, with other promoters, I think boxing was extremely active, and I think to try and do it now, I don't think it's possible. I think that record's going to stand forever.
Stand for a while. Well, you must have been a proud man, proud of your dad. Tell us how proud you were of your father.
Very, very, very proud of him. And he's shaped me into the man I am today. He's guided me in the right direction, and he made me believe that boxing is in the blood, and we're here today, and I've produced my own champions because of what he's taught me over the years.
Yeah, awesome, Damien. He was legendary. What is he like? Just for the layman out there, for the people that we know a lot about your dad, but there's behind the scenes as a father, as a person.
Yeah, my dad had a big heart. He was a firm believer in what he wanted. If he had set his mind on something, he would go and achieve it. A family man. He was always at home. He always spent time with us. Obviously, when I was younger, he had travelled a lot, so time with him wasn't a lot of time, but it was time well spent. He was a family man. He had a big heart. He was always there for my best interests. If I did something wrong, he wouldn't be upset with me. He would just try and shift me and guide me the right way. So it's an unbelievable father. I was lucky to have him as my dad, to be honest.
No, well said. That's nice for the viewers to know that. And nice for everybody to know that. No, well done. Well, you've made him very proud. And like you said, you're a proud son. You started working with your dad when you were 14 years old. Jeez, that's amazing. So what did it feel like as this little 14-year-old getting in the corner on TV in these big world title fights, all these belts, all these champions, like you said, the 14 champions in one night? I remember as a commentator watching you grow up from a small little boy. You were always in the corner, either working or you started working when you were 14. So tell us about that.
So it started from the age of 5-6. I was carrying boxing belts to the ring for the fighters. Yeah. And then when I was 14, the first fight I ever worked with my dad, we actually travelled overseas. Silence Mabuza was fighting. Yes. And I worked the corner with him in New York. So that was the first experience I ever had working in a corner. It was in New York, so it was great. I came back. I think the next one was Warren Jabir, and then from there it was just it just went on. And for me, boxing was a big part of spending time with my dad, and I think that's why I appreciated it so much, because we spent a lot of time together in the gym, at the boxing, at home. So I was fortunate to spend a lot of time with him, and the boxing just allowed me to be with him more. You know, I could have gone and chosen something else. I could have not been interested in the sport, and I wouldn't have had the time I could have had with him. So I'm grateful that actually boxing kept us together. And
it's great that you've kept the passion, because I mean Nick is legendary, your dad, and unfortunately passed away at such a young age, at 53, and you keeping the legacy going, which is brilliant. I wanted to ask you, which would be, I mean, there must be many, just one or two maybe, your fondest memories of your dad and of the world title fights you'd been in. You said you went to Silence Mabuza to New York when you were just a youngster.
So fights that stand out for me in my dad's career was Cassius versus Philip Ndo. That was, I grew up around Cassius and I grew up around Philip. It was an emotional fight for me. I was a little boy. You can't comprehend these two fighters fighting each other. For me, I loved both of them. So it was a very difficult night to watch both of them fight each other. That stands out for me. We spent time in Los Angeles unifying the IBF and the WBO world title. Donaire versus Matabula, we were in Los Angeles together. I had New York experience with him. We went to Thailand. So a lot of the traveling was special for me. There's a lot of fights that stood out, but it was just the experiences with him that counted the most for me.
I'm glad you mentioned the Cassius Ndo fight, because I was part of it. And for the viewers that don't know, Nick Durandt and I were great friends off boxing, but when we got into the ring, we were fierce rivals.
100%.
And Cassius Beloy had been with your father originally, then he joined me.
You,
and then we moved up in division. It was a bit of a heavy division for Cassius, but it was a fight we needed to take. Philip Ndo was great. Your dad trained him into a great fighter. And we were rivals, myself and your dad. We were opposite trainers.
100%.
And we had heated exchanges at the press conferences, but afterwards we had a beer and we were great mates.
There was 6,000 people at Carnival City that night. Carnival City was sold out with Cassius and Philip. So it was a great night of boxing.
Big evening. Nick Durandt in one corner,
Brian Mitchell in another,
and Cassius Beloy, Philip Ndo. And you don't see that many big fights like that anymore in South Africa.
100%.
But fantastic talking to you. As I say, we could talk to your dad for hours. I'd like to actually talk to you on the Instagram show as well, where we can have a long chat and let the viewers phone in and call in.
That's
and
perfect.
Thank you, Damien. Thank you for what you're doing. And thank you for the insight onto more about your dad, who was legendary in boxing in this country. And South African boxing will definitely miss the great late Nick Durandt. Thank you for watching. I'm Brian Mitchell.